Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
It's Some Dumb Guy, and welcome to episode 32 of Some Dumb Watch. This episode of Watching Dumbly is devoted to the weeks of May 5th through May 11th. This is my weekly series where I chronicle what I've watched from my physical media library and any theatrical attendances I happen to attend. I have another good week, 2 in a row as far as voluminous viewing, and we're just going to dive right in with a rewatch of a film I recently picked up. Haven't seen this movie probably since the early 90s. I had recollections, vague ones, of bits and pieces of it. Nothing more. I've only seen it the one time. I watched the theatrical cut of this, and it turns out it has an unrated director's cut attached as well. So at some point, I need to pull it back out and do a comparative watching. But it is this is just Lady in White, and Lady in White is from 1987. It runs 118 minutes. It is a murder mystery with a supernatural twist or paranormal twist. How do you define the difference between supernatural and paranormal? Does anybody know? I do not. This film is intermittently creepy, touching, and funny. Things that normally shouldn't go very well together, and yet somehow this film successfully manages it. It's an interesting and unique story. I think it's something that I could give a recommendation to for anybody who is looking for I almost want to say Goonies, but not quite, because it's not a group of kids. This is one kid, central character here in this film. The only other real significant child is his older brother, who plays a good role in it as well. Touching relationship, father, deceased mother. It's a quirky Italian family living in upstate New York. Takes place in, I believe, 1962, and you get this situation where you are going through a very interesting experience with this child, and circumstantially what he encounters, and it consumes his life, and like I said, becomes a supernatural, paranormal, whodunit murder mystery. Lots of familiar faces. Next up, from my homemade 2-pack, I think you've all seen this featured before, not too long ago, but I watched From Dusk Till Dawn. I know I've seen it recently. I had compelling reason to rewatch it again, and because I did, I must document it. It is paired up with The Lost Boys in my little homemade case of vampire funness. Basically, I rewatched this in large part to compare it to the recently released Sinners. These movies have a lot in common. Two brothers on the run from either and or the law versus some shady folk who find themselves in a bar-like situation, and while there, encounter a large number of vampires, and they are trapped in this bar until sunrise, fighting for their survival. And although far more comedic in the sense that From Dusk Till Dawn is, it's nonetheless very similar. Sinners is almost what I would deem a more serious version of it, although From Dusk Till Dawn is largely a serious film up until the vampires appear, and then it just jumps the shark and goes all nutty. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Want to say hi to the people? Huh? Want to say hi to people? Come here. Oh, come here, buddy. You know, you're your little female counterpart, and you were just eating Sugar's food, weren't you? And I didn't even catch that. Your little female counterpart is so much easier to pick up because she weighs less than half of your weight. Yes. And you should be ashamed of yourself for eating for sugar as food. I was just praising you on how proud I was of you on your reduced diet. But he's a bit overweight as I took him in, and he needs to lose some weight. And it's been hard to regulate his diet. Good boy? Yeah. So, here we go. Thanks for stopping by. One of my high school favorites. Periodically rewatch. It doesn't impact me the same way as it did back then, but it's still, as movies go, and for the kind of movie it is, it's a lot of fun. And it is also from my homemade 2-pack. We're talking about the classic that made Kevin Smith's career, Clerks, which is paired up with my Blu-ray copy of Mallrats. Both these are Blu-rays, by the way. Good, fun times. I don't like Mallrats nearly as much as I like Clerks. In fact, I don't really like any Kevin Smith movie as much as I like Clerks. And I think largely they're kind of almost on a sliding scale. From Clerks downward, Clerks 2 I didn't really care for the first time I saw it. I gained an appreciation for it. Not quite enough to own it yet, though. Clerks 3 I never saw. Probably will never see. Have no interest in it. If you, Kevin Smith, in your whole career at this point. Next up, double feature and one of my another homemade 2-pack. I got to do a little marathon watching. Yes. Top Gun, followed by Top Gun Maverick. Favorite movie of 2022. Happened to see that beauty of a film 22 times in the theater when it came out. Yes, 22. No lie and no shame. I loved this movie that much. I was going pretty much on a weekly basis for quite some time. And I have introduced many of people to this film who had never seen it. And every single one of them, I had them rewatch Top Gun first prior to Maverick. Win for win every single time. All have loved it. Hey, it's Sugar. Hi, Sugar. Want to say hi to everybody? Buddy got to say hi to everybody. You didn't get a cameo. Yes, she is. You're so much lighter and easier to pick up. It's insane. It's an adventure. Hey, buddy. I picked Sugar up. She's got a flea on her leg. Where Buddy has put me in a kind of a bad spot. The baby possums have been getting into the catio outside where he had been staying for a while. And now he's living indoors permanently and has free access to the catio. Little baby possums have gotten into the catio, shed some fleas. He's picked them up, brought them inside, and either passed them to Sugar or Sugar's now picked them up outside herself. In 6.5 years I've had her, I've only had one flea on her ever. Well, a moment ago when I was holding her, I saw one on her leg. Grabbed the flea comb, trying to get this nipped in the bud before it becomes a major catastrophe for all three of us. Physical media, that's why you're here. Anyway, I furthered my topical arc here, and I got the watch done of Lily Sobieski's 1999 Joan of Arc TV miniseries that competed directly against Mia Jovovich's The Messenger from the same year. She got the miniseries. Mia Jovovich got the theatrical release. I feel really sorry for Lily Sobieski because she put so much earnestness into this role, and despite it being a fairly solid cast and a good lengthy 3 hours, I often wonder, side note, how much the actual history of her is accurately documented. From what I've read, her childhood and everything else is largely unknown. This is 3 versions of the story now I've watched, and all 3 have a completely, basically different upbringing for her. Even the more well-known events of her life for the couple years or whatever that it was are represented quite a lot differently in these 3 films. I think there's one more called The Passion of Joan of Arc that I have yet to see. So, at some point, I wasn't overly enthused by that. What would an episode of SumDumWatch be without a Frank Capra entry? This is the last one I own, so I'm scrambling now to pick up more titles of this man's. This is Arsenic and Old Lace. I've featured the Frank Capra film basically in every single episode over the last, what are we at, 23 weeks now in a row, I believe. One a week. All things considered, there's not a whole lot left to his filmography for me to watch. There's a couple silent films out there, whether I can get my hands on them or not. I believe they're silent. And a couple other older ones. But not much left at all. And that'll be sad when I run out. This is a movie of mine that suffered from my title bias that I've talked about before. Arsenic and Old Lace. Sounds silly, sounds stupid to me. So it's a title that I've avoided for many years. I just well, whatever. I was aware of it, but I knew nothing more about that. I always heard good things about it, but I knew nothing about what it was. And it wasn't until I learned that it was a Frank Capra title, after having ventured into this, that I'm like, okay, I was able to cast all that aside and dive headfirst into this. So I bought this during the last Criterion sale. This is a 1944, 118-minute, beautiful transfer. This film looks great. Cary Grant is absolutely incredible in this film. His role, his performance in this must have been exhausting for him, for the amount of energy and enthusiasm and activity, for lack of a better term, that he put into this particular film is absolutely amazing. I don't know how I feel about it. Not knowing anything about what to expect from this film, I felt like I was in this tug-of-war of the tonal shifts between the humor and the darkness and the violence and the murderous aspect of this film. And this movie is all over the place. But the further I got into it, the more of a delight it became. The more I sank into it, and the more I began to laugh at it. This is one that, because it actually, I think it took me 3 separate sit-downs to complete it, just because of stuff going on. This film deserves a start-to-finish sit-down to watch the entirety of it so that I can really soak the whole thing in. But overall, I think it's very promising. It's only the second Cary Grant performance I've ever seen, and that's 2 for 2 now that make me really want to further explore his filmography, which I've got a Frank Capra collection box set from Kino Lorber somewhere here. I think it's got a trilogy of movies, 3 parts, but looking forward to checking that one out too. We slowly progress for my last season of 9 for Seinfeld. We're a few episodes in at this point. Let me see, we are only 2 episodes in out of 24. So I got a little ways to go, depending on how things play out before I finish this up. So there's still a chance to get your suggestions in as far as what TV show I should watch next, any recommendations. As I'm reminding my viewers in every video here at this point that if I haven't seen it and I own it out of my extensive TV library, I'll put it into a running based on how many suggestions I get, make a decision there. Or if it's one that I don't own but it's on my wish list, so to speak, I can look into potentially, if it is the victor, getting it in time, hopefully, to begin that. But I have to have a TV show in my weekly rotation. It just would feel completely wrong. As wrong as it's going to be to run out of Frank Capra films, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that. But TV, there's an endless supply. Like, I'll go pull out Gunsmoke and have the 20 some odd seasons or whatever. Keep me going for years. I mean, who knows, really. This is just going off the rails. I had one theatrical viewing last week. Wednesday, 7 p.m. showing. This was something special because this was a 50th anniversary re-release of a blurry ticket stub. There we go. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which because I hate movie stubs. It's just Monty Python and there's no indication of what the film is. Believe it or not, this was my very first viewing of any Monty Python film. And I've heard this is one of the best, and I got to see it for the first time on the big screen in the theater. So, yay. Good stuff, a lot of laughs. I really had no idea what to expect. I think I own Monty Python, The Meaning of Life. Obviously, I haven't watched it yet. Seeing this prompted me to jump online and immediately buy a copy of it. It's in transit now. I had some difficulty with some of the dialogue, understanding what was being said, so a rewatch with subtitles on will be in order. I have the impression that this is a film that when you watch it on repeat viewings, you pick up more of. There might be some more subtle innuendo humor that probably isn't jumping out as much as it was. If y'all have any thoughts on this week's dumb viewings, dumb watchings, Word Box, what did you watch this last week? Word Box. Any upcoming watches you're looking forward to? Any recommendations for me to watch? Word Box. Until next time, thank you. Just have a recent unboxing video for this little stuff here, and guess what? More arrived today. There's a lot more en route. So much more in store for the unboxings and the unenvelopings and the unboxelopings. So stay tuned. Thank you and good night. Bye.
Alan.